Okay, my humble pranams to all the divine souls who are watching this today. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Asha ji. And my gratitude goes to all the masters for connecting, for making us connect together in this beautiful journey. So today we are reading our book. Oh my goodness.
Thousand
What was
Seeds
the
of
title of
Joy.
Thousand
Thousand
Seeds of
Seeds
Joy?
of Joy.
Thousand Seeds of Joy, which we are covering almost every week. And as I said, this is a wonderful book. Everyone should read it because there are so much of information and
Yes.
there's so much of transformation that you can see and feel in your life. So with that, um, I would like to welcome Master Asha ji to our platform. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dila Madam. Uh, my humble pranam to our great Guru, Subhash Patriji, Brahmarshi Pitamaha Subhash Patriji, and Guru Mata, Swarnamala Patriji, and to all the astral masters and the masters present, and all the gurus who have come in my life. Pranam. So today we are actually talking about the part 4 in Thousand Seeds of Joy, which mostly talks about feminine wisdom of Mahabharata. That is different ladies who came in Mahabharata and how their presence impacted that time, and now it's a history for us. But yes, we have a lot to learn from that time and era. So here, mostly this chapter consists of Lakshmi Mata's 3 incarnation. I'll just give a gist initially what this chapter is. It's chapter 15 and it talks about Radha, Rukmini and Draupadi. So this is the phase where Lakshmi Mata tells the author that in this chapter she explains very clearly that she came as 3 roles in this Mahabharata era. So this is something very interesting because taking one incarnation is something understandable, but at the same time, at the same era, being 3 different personalities and making an impact to the society and to the how do I put it? The development of the earth or the Mahabharata is Dwapar Yuga, where there has been transition of yugas, and Krishna came at this time to help planet Earth, or even we could say the change of the yuga, right? He came to help the entire universe with his teachings for the benefit of human life. So I would just go over reading question after question and talk about what I have understood here. So the first question the author asks is because in the previous chapter she had already mentioned that she had come in, like that is when she was Sita, right, in Ramayana. She had mentioned that in the next incarnation, that is when Krishna would come on earth, there is there are various roles for her to play. So he remembers that and he tells that you had already told me that in the next incarnation you used law of attraction. Remember, masters, in the previous chapter we did talk about law of attraction and how with this law of attraction we can manifest what we want at the time we want. So and it helps in various levels. So he's talking about the same thing, mentioning that we spoke about law of attraction. And so at this incarnation, using law of attraction, how did you connect with Lord Vishnu at 3 different levels? That's what he's asking. So in Goddess Lakshmi says this incarnation, that is after Rama, that is next incarnation is Krishna. We are talking about Dwapar Yuga. So here she says Lord Vishnu came as Krishna and to assist him. See, basically he came during this change of yugas from Ramayana happened in Treta Yuga, and after that this is Dwapar Yuga, and at the end stage of Dwapar Yuga Krishna is supposedly have come. That is when there was this transitioning happening from Dwapar Yuga to Kali Yuga. So this is what Krishna did, coming at that point of time, so that to help the nature or the universe in this transition period. So this was important for humanity. That's what she says. And she incarnated as three different women in this in this Dwapar Yuga, that is as a matron, as a maiden, and as the crone. So again, that is when we say matron, that is as his wife, as his, then as a maiden, as his spiritual friend, and also as a devotee, that is the crone part. So now he wants to know the same thing what I was thinking when I was reading. How did she incarnate as three women simultaneously, right? That's what he asks. Did you incarnate as three women simultaneously? She says yes, as a devotee, as a wife, that is his matron, and the crone, who is a spiritual friend. So then his question is like, so the soul can divide itself and incarnate in multiple people. And see, I have read about this in many books earlier, that maybe even all of us, we don't know, might have come at the same time in different roles. Even I've also heard that Paramahamsa Yogananda came at the same time as two different people. And now I don't know the details about it, but in many books I've read that. So she says, yes, if the soul is called to do so, yes, if the soul is asked to do so, that at that time, if she's supposed to come in different roles, whether it's a she or a he, or we don't know. So, and she also mentions that it's only the ascended beings, that is the higher conscious level people can incarnate. So now we know Paramahamsa Yogananda, what a how do I put it, high spirited soul. He came for with a purpose. He changed a lot on in this planet Earth. So maybe yes, he was a high ascended being who came to change, and that's what Mata Lakshmi is telling. The as high ascended beings can incarnate at the same time. So then his question is, he guessed Radha to be his spiritual friend, and Rukmini, of course, is his wife, Krishna's wife. So he's wondering, who is this devotee who, that is, who as his devotee did you incarnate? So she says the devotee is the person who had five husbands. This was a news to me because I didn't know Draupadi was also an incarnation of Mata Lakshmi. I knew that Radha and Rukmini were from the same source, but I didn't know even Draupadi. So because what we have, like whether we have read in the any book or especially serials that used to come in Doordarshan at that time, we nobody has ever given us this information, right? So, or if I remember any book that I've read, it doesn't tell me that even Draupadi is a part of Mata Lakshmi's incarnation. That was something very surprising for me. So she laughs and she says, yes. So you were also, that's what he asked. So you were also Draupadi, that is the lady who had five husbands. She says, yes. So here she says what her task was, that she assisted Pandavas who surrendered. We all know they had surrendered completely to Lord Krishna. So they took his help in every trials that they had to go through, every difficulty, everywhere they could come out so easily of that particular problem was only because Krishna's grace. So she said that she assisted in this life journey with to her husbands who went through so much. So then so he says now he's very interested. Obviously, right? Even I would be in his place, that I want to know more about Draupadi and also Radha. Actually, I want to talk about Radha here a little bit, masters. I'll just stretch a bit at this point of time about Radha. Radha, of what we all know, at least me, right? First time, whenever we used to hear, whether from our grandmothers or whoever we used to tell while growing up, whether talking about Lord Krishna and Radha, they used to tell she liked him, he liked her. So always, and even the serials that we see in television, they've always depicted as a lover, right? Now, lover means that we have this misconception or misunderstanding, at least the people whom I know or the kind of society that I've grown up, we whenever, at least in India, I think, I don't know about other places, whenever we talk about love, there is always an assumption that it's a physical relationship. Now, I don't know why it has come like this. I honestly don't know. But somewhere I used to feel that if Radha is such a high soul, right? We all knew Radha was a very high conscious soul, but it was always there. I had a conflict, like how is it possible? She didn't marry. Again, there is this concept that you love a person, you marry. That's the typical, format of a woman's life in country like India. So I used to wonder how is this, we all grew up in this kind of a conservative orthodox kind of environment. So here it's explained so beautifully, like whatever I had here, all the misconceptions is wiped away, it's just erased. So what he says is, the question he asks is, I would like to hear more about incarnations from you, especially this is the word we have to, especially as Radha and Draupadi. So again, he mentions that most of the scripture says Radha was Krishna's lover or a partner, right? We all know this, even though you didn't marry him. See, this is the statement which we have focused. We always have this. It's like a formatted thing in our brain that you love and you marry, right? And here she didn't. She loved him, but there was never a marital relationship. This is kind of something. It's I don't know. At least in these times, it's okay, but 20 years ago or 30 years ago, this was something like we could imagine, masters, we are in Kali Yuga and we so-called modern society and all those things, we could accept this. But after reading this, I felt there in that Yuga, there was so much modern in their thinking, in their way of life than we are today. So it was so she explains, going forward, she explains, she laughs and she says, because his question is based on all these formatted thoughts that he's also grown up with. His questions, I feel I was sitting there because even I would ask the same questions because I have all these formatted thoughts or, which is already inbuilt in me from my childhood. So she says, Krishna is already a realized self. So this word is something we have to understand very well, which I think even I had little apprehensions about it. So she says Krishna was born a realized self. We all know he's a incarnation. He was born to do something. So, but we never understood this in this way. So we know he's God, he can do everything. So why didn't we understand this relationship with Radha and Krishna, right? At least I don't know. These are the thoughts that came to me. So we know Krishna is a very higher conscious soul or God. Let's keep it as God because our society, yes, he was God. We worship him, and even today we worship him. So then why? We always used to. I remember I have also asked, if he was God, why did he have so many partners, or why did he have so many relationships? So now I feel so silly about because we did not understand. Nobody ever explained. Even, I mean, I don't blame our elders or anybody, right? Because even they didn't know. Even they did not understand this. So she says he was already born as a realized self. So there was no need to complicate. He didn't need all these things. So she says, she takes an example of a tree and she says, you don't teach a tree to be whole. Now, again, this word is very key, whole, WHOLE. This, she says, whole in the sense, a completeness, something which possesses everything. Again, it doesn't need anything. We are the ones who need. The tree in itself doesn't need anything, it's complete. So that's what she's telling. Krishna is a complete soul. He is a whole. We just stand at at far and say, we appreciate that, we thank for that, we show gratitude. And if we need something, we take help from it. So she says he had both male energy as well as female energy. So, and as Radha, she was in that era to support him. So he was like how do I put it? Higher conscious soul or enlightened one who she says whose path on which she's telling to the author that you are seeking Krishna. You are seeking Krishna. Because you are seeking Krishna, you came to me. Your path led to me. So that kind of a person is Krishna. So he takes an example of the revered guru who is now as known as Sri Ravi Shankar. So he says, was it like him? She says yes. And this is a news to me again because of what we know and what we have heard or what we have seen. Again, these are all formatted thoughts, um, which I really have taken a deep understanding now after reading this chapter, that I have to unlearn all the things that I have here and try to keep open mind, open heart to understand whatever it is as it is. I don't know if I make sense. So here, because Sri Ravi Shankar, he mentions, we all know him, he's a guru, he's a founder of Art of Living. So here, I was astounded when she mentions, uh, that means he's a higher conscious soul. We just cannot see him as just somebody who is, wearing a white robes and who is sitting there telling people to take a breathe or do Sudarshan Kriya or whatever, right? So there are a lot of people who have difficulty in understanding that too. So she mentions about him and she says he's a pure joy. So the women who are working for him, who are assisting him. So she's comparing herself. That's the job she was doing to Krishna. So then, yeah, author says he likes him and his satsangas. So now she continues, her relationship with Krishna. So she says, most of the scriptures have spoken truth about her and Krishna's relationships. Yet, at later stages, right, when people started writing about Radha Krishna, we see a lot of temples and we have heard a lot of folk tales about Radha Krishna. A lot of different parts of our country, they speak different things about Radha Krishna. So she says most of the projections or the later scripts that are there are just the thoughts of the author who wrote. See, this is what we have to understand. Whenever we are reading a book, most of it is what the author is thinking. So it is so difficult, masters, to find out if this is what happened or this is the imagination of that author. Again, I don't know. We just have to, again, that's what I realized. I have to keep my heart and mind open. And this book honestly has helped a lot in keeping myself open and accepting and understanding what it is and what it was. So then she moving on, she says, sorry, I'll be adding here and there whatever I think, because simultaneously my brain will also be working and a lot of things come up. And while reading the books, this chapter, whatever it comes up, I'll be adding here and there. Moving further, so she says, let me explain how the relationship was. She says Krishna was like a father figure to her. It was, she never desired to marry him. She never wanted to be tied down to him because she was a very independent soul, and she desired to be like that because she wanted to be the way she wanted to be, and however wherever she could go. She said, if I'd married Krishna, then I would be tied to him. So in that particular lifetime, her path was something like, she puts it as mm, path of angels. So to assist, that's what. And I think here she mentioned she did that, she assisted her mom, the author's mom, in her life. That's what I understand from whatever she's saying. So then she also says that with this, her role, right, as Radha, so it's like, how do I put it? It's like a beacon for a lot of women who don't want to be tied up, who want to be free, and yet they want to be whole and do what they want in their lives, not get attached to all the past life karmas. They want to, release themselves so they can live like this. That's what she says. That's what I came to do, to show women how they can live, even whether they are being in the society doing the societal tasks, yet they can be on their own. So that's what she says. And then she says she chose to have Krishna in her relationship for the healing purposes, because he was that lifetime, he took that avatar, we can put it that way, he took that avatar to bring a lot of change in mankind, in this universe, right? So she was there to assist him. as a friend, and she adored him a lot. So she mentions again and again that this was not like a romantic love. It was She was mostly like a battery to his work. Keep recharging, keep telling, okay, okay, do this, do that. He didn't have to be told, but she was assisting him in her own way. So, but there was tremendous honor between the two. And also she takes an example of a worm who I didn't know this again, who doesn't need a partner to reproduce. So yet they choose to intertwine with each other, the worms, and there are trees who self-pollinate. So she says this was that kind of a harmonious relationship, which was at a very high vibration. And a lot of people in the ancient times looks like that is the nuns and priests. They lived like this at a very higher vibrations. Again, I think I've not been able to understand this to the extent that she explains here. Maybe because of the pattern that our life is, it's difficult for me to understand this. I'm trying to. And then I realize maybe, I have to raise my consciousness to actually understand what Radha is telling here, or what Lakshmi Mata is telling, who came as Radha in that era. So then moving on, he again asks, again, this was a question that came to me while reading this answer. He again asks that, was it okay, if you and Krishna were together? And, again, our thought goes back to the formatted, learnings that we have. She says, yes, yes, definitely, yes. And she gives an example of Virgin Mary, who conceived Jesus. Uh, am I still, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, you are.
Am I going too fast?
No, no, just nice, just nice.
Okay, okay. So again, she takes the example of Virgin Mary who conceived Jesus. So this was again, whenever I read about Jesus, or we all know there are a lot of fables about Jesus, and we've seen on television, we have read a lot of books, and I used to wonder, how this is possible. And then I thought, okay, these people are gods and they can do whatever Maya or whatever things. So that was my understanding. But now, after coming to this path, I really understand that it's higher consciousness. Even we want something, any one of us, we want something, we can raise ourselves to that consciousness level and manifest whatever we want. Again, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's not a task that can be done in a day or 10 years, or we don't know at what spiritual level we all are. So it's okay. So then she explains that Jesus was a son of God. And this, if you take this conception as an ordinary human way, yes, you can understand it that way. But then Mary and Joseph, they are from a very high vibration source, so they could make it happen. That is, it is like a divine conception. So then again, he goes back to what she told earlier. She was telling us she was like a battery to Lord Krishna. So the author wants to understand this more. So he says, please explain to me how it is. So then she again goes back to the relationship and says they helped each other to raise their vibrations. So again, she takes Sri Sri's example. So she says, your teacher Sri Sri, he has so many women around him, and he surrenders to their energy, so that in this process his vibration also raises, and those people around him, their vibration also raises, because of Sri Sri's, who is being from a very higher vibration soul. So then again they don't cross their boundaries. There is honor between that. Relationship is a honorable relationship. So then again his question was, you said he was whole, that is Krishna was whole. If he's whole, then why does he need a battery, right? Battery, why do we use battery? To recharge something, right? Keep recharging and keep pushing. So if Krishna himself is whole, he didn't need, right? Then why did you act like a battery to him? So she puts it as a catalyst. What is a catalyst? Catalyst is an add-on feature kind of a thing. So you're doing some in chemistry. If you go back to chemistry, you're trying to mix up two compounds or whatever, right? Sodium with something or hydrogen with something. There is a catalyst, which either it can be some chemical or something which adds on to this combination to become something else, because we, some other reaction comes up. We need that catalyst for that kind of an output to come up with some other output. So if people who have studied chemistry, they will definitely understand this. So you don't need to study chemistry again, sorry. Catalyst is something, an add-on feature for something to work, to come up with some other output. So again, she says a catalyst, she used the word catalyst, so that she acted like a catalyst that can work in his mission to bring all the changes that he came to this earth to do it, right? So then now he was like a bit more, inquisitive, because she has spent her life as three different characters in Krishna's life. So he wanted to know more about Krishna and how he is, you know. So Krishna as a person. So at that time and era, they did treat. He came in a human form, and he was just like all of us, right? So she says Krishna was a very mystical kind of a person. He took care of everybody. We all know through the stories in Mahabharata. He took care of even the tiniest. I'll just quote one story here, which I don't know if it's very relevant or not, but I really want to mention to what detail Krishna went. When I've in some book I read, these 18 days, right? Kurukshetra war happened. So here there were thousands, not thousands, there were crores, millions and millions of people, soldiers, and animals, horses, elephants, all kinds, right? So they were all in this big battlefield. They were all fighting. So definitely they didn't know how many days this would take, right? So we had the people who should be given food, right? Every day they needed food. If they didn't have food, how would they fight? So there was this cook arranged by Krishna for everybody. It's both sides, Kauravas and Pandavas. So he made sure they were fed well, and not only just people, both animals and human beings. So how would the cook know how much to cook, right? So this cook, what he did, he would every day take a fistful of peanuts, groundnuts, and he would go to Krishna. And he would say, because he need to know the measurement how to cook, because there are like millions and millions of people and animals. So he would take a fistful of peanuts and would go to Krishna every night. And Krishna would pick peanuts and put it into his mouth. So the number of peanuts Krishna would take, right? That much of that many akshohinis or thousands of people remained for the next meal. So the cook would know, okay, I have to cook so much. So the reason I gave this example was he took, even in the battlefield, right? He took care of everything. Nobody would be in this, whether Pandavas or Kauravas, I'm sure they wouldn't be in the state of mind to think about the cook or food or the groceries or all those things. But Krishna did. Krishna did. He took care of everybody, even in that most, I would put it like difficult most period, that 18 days. So again, she says, coming back to our story, she says, he was very devoted to his family, and he was very fast, I believe, in talking. That was his personality trait. So, and he would answer everyone's questions to the point, exact, efficient answer, not talking, all the stories and just and everything. To the point, he would answer, and he was always in a meditative state. He never slept. That's what she says. He hardly slept because he had this thing that I have to do so much and I have less time. And like how we do sometimes if we have a party or something in our house, and whole night we'll be trying to arrange something and do something. So definitely that would be just for one night or two nights, not like Krishna in his entire life. But again, he was a higher conscious soul. And she also says he took breaks twice a year and he would go away from everybody. Yeah, and I have, now when she mentions this break part, right? I have, again, I've read somewhere, or I don't even remember. He would go to mountains or Himalayas, and he would sit and pray, I believe. In meditative state, he would sit and be within himself. So I have read this in a lot of books. So then she comes to the relationship part of her and Krishna, that is Radha and Krishna, and she says we talked a lot. We were, discussed a lot with ourselves about a lot of various things, and he also, I think, he sang for her, and Radha would just leave and just go somewhere because she wanted a break too. She remember she was a very independent nature, so she wanted to just leave. I wish I could do this. I could just leave everybody and go somewhere and stay in some resort or somewhere just by myself and rejuvenate and come back. But yeah, I can't do that. But Radha was doing everything. So, and she also mentions that you have to remember that those times it was her choice to marry him or not, because she says it was not so patriarchal in those days. That means, imagine, masters, so called Kali Yuga and modern society, we are so much patriarchal now. But those times, this was like thousands of years ago. So then she says it was not so patriarchal. So that was a nice thing, right? Then he asks, so was this incarnation after Sita? This is the incarnation that you took birth after, right after Sita. So she says, no, yes, I mean, yes, it was after Sita, but it was not an immediate one. It was like a 21 human lifetimes later. Wow, that was, I can't even imagine the time 21 lifetimes means. Anyway, so then he goes back to him because he's not satisfied. And definitely, anybody in his place won't see. He goes back and she says, please share some story of love between you and Krishna. So again, she talks in detail that they were both for they Krishna used to go on a long journey, he used to travel a lot for many months. So this was, she says, a spiritual journey. So when he came back, he came with a lot of information, right? He's first of all, he's a higher conscious soul. So he would travel and he would come back and he has a lot of information. And she says nothing was in books, it was not written. It was everything here. He was like a powerhouse of knowledge. So we all know, definitely. That's why Bhagavad Gita has come out. So then she says he would manifest even simplest things. Like, say, for example, he would go near a tree and he would just think, like, I want this kind of a fruit, and it would be in front of him. So to that, imagine, master, the energy that he had, the vibrations that he could create just by being there, just by thinking in front of a tree. If I want an apple, the apple would just fall in his arms. So she says this was happening, this was possible because his heart chakra was open all the time. So that's why he could manifest so easily. And she also says that this part, like this, how do I put it? This manifesting what you want, right? It was at its peak during sunrise and sunset. Now I can relate this, right? Whenever, because a lot of our elders have told, if you wake up early and if you study, it will stay in your mind, and you can, even for spiritual journey, right? They say this Brahma Muhurta. So during that time, if you pray or ask for what you want, you get it. So now I get it. So at this, even for Krishna, imagine he's a god or higher conscious soul. Even for him, this manifestation was at its peak during sunrise and sunset. And she says he could very easily speak to stars, and his energy would flow. And she says, I could communicate with him through these stars. Even she had the capacity to speak to the stars, and the stars would relate to Krishna. And it was like a back and forth. I think the stars acted like a phone connection between these two, even though we didn't have, or maybe it was very high level in those days, right? Today we have this tool as phone, but there they could just think it could happen. So that is something at a very high level. And also she says she was living at a very high places in mountains, and it helped her to uplift her energy, and with her energy she was helping Mother Earth to change in the change of these seasons. We know the summer, winter, rain, right? She was helping these seasons. She says it was happening due to the star alignment. So she was helping. She was helping Mother Earth with all these things, and she also was talking to angels, and she took help from angels. And she also says she would envision what she wants or what she desired for Krishna to manifest. Imagine, Master, if it's like if she thought of something and she wants Krishna to do this, she would send her energy or her, just imagine her manifestation power, because Krishna is somewhere, she is somewhere. Geographically, I'm talking at that time. If I imagine that era, Krishna is somewhere and she is somewhere, and she's trying to, put all these energy, use her higher vibrations and send the energy to Krishna, and he would receive it and manifest it. It is something at a very high level. And she says he had both masculine and feminine energies with him. And she says we did it as a, it was nothing like bound as a duty or obligation. We just did it with free will. She says it was a free will to take care of earth. We have to also, at this point, I felt that we have to notice that how much they were doing for the planet, right? It was not just that, okay, they were a higher conscious souls, they came for this task, they did all these things. That's fine. Let's keep that aside for a minute and let's just think. We have also come now. If I just take my example, I've also taken this birth, and so much of stuff is there in my life. So much of, even if you take it as a materialistic thing, right? There is so much, and how much gratitude do I show? There are times when all of us have thrown a paper or something just like that. Now I don't do that. For many years, I don't do that. But yet, so many does. At least let us think, there's no need to raise our consciousness or become some rishis or angels. Or no, if we just follow these tiny, mini bits, take care of where to throw trash or where to throw plastic. That itself is enough. We don't need to be Krishna or Radha, right? So at this point, I'm going to stop. We have a few more questions. I just don't want to rush. So it's already 6:14. Tila madam, is it okay if I stop here, or should we want me to continue?
Definitely okay, dear. Thank you so much for the wonderful, wonderful session. You explained it so well and with a lot of examples. And I have a few questions to ask you. Let
Oh
me
God.
start.
Questions.